Hey guys, Chris the Ultimate Recycler here, and you can't see me at the moment because I'm doing a voiceover of some footage I took about 3 weeks ago of removing our old piano here we have out the front of our shop. It's been there about 6 or 7 years. It's quite weathered. It's been knocked around over the years by people late Saturday night having a bit of fun. It's been well used, but I've been offered a new one. Well, when I say new, it's still an antique piano, and this actually was a pianola as well, but it's had the mechanism removed from up the top behind these doors. Ours was intact, but it was never working. But since we got offered this and it was dropped off for free, it's a good chance to upgrade. It's in better condition. It's actually quite in tune. It plays pretty well. So I was grateful to take it because they were going to take it to the tip otherwise. So beautiful old piano, still got the pedals at the bottom, and it will be replacing this old girl. So the next step is, well, I've moved it out from the wall, cleaned it. There's a lot of books and stuff there from the book exchange and need a good clean up, and now I've got to get it onto the trailer somehow on my own, but I like a challenge. So luckily all the casters are still on it, and the concrete is pretty smooth here where the footpath is, and by backing a trailer into the gutter I could lower the angle of the ramp, but I realised that the ramp's narrower than what the casters are. Fortunately the casters were just wide enough to straddle the ramp, and I was able to lever it up slowly, and because it was resting on the timber base it wasn't likely to slide back over the top of me, and I persisted and managed to get it on. I was offered help by a few people, but I like to do these things myself, and I figure if the Egyptians could build the pyramids with no cranes or mechanical means, I could load a piano on my own with a crowbar. Christine came out to oversee, of course, and offer some valuable tips, and after a little bit of mucking around I got it on and I could drive it away. Well guys, it's about 2 weeks later. This piano's been riding around on my trailer for a couple of weeks. I've finally got a chance to knock it apart, so we're going to basically see what we can save by scrapping out this piano. There won't be much scrap metal, and hopefully it's supposed to get pretty hot today, but hopefully it'd be cool enough under the carport to get it all knocked apart today, because I need my trailer and Christine wants to park the car back in our carport. So alright, I've got to untie the ropes, I've got to round up some tools, we'll see what sort of timber we can save. Well, hopefully it's not too complicated to get apart, and I've never pulled apart one of the Pianola ones, so there's going to be all sorts of chains and sprockets and things in there, which should be a bit of value for us, so let's have a look. Now I did a piano scrap about 4 years ago and I did a video on it, and I'll put a link underneath, and it's done quite well and people have been quite interested. This one's different in that it is a pianola and there's a lot more works in here. So the doors have already been taken off here. In fact, I think they were broken off. They were just sitting loose on the piano. But there's lots of chains and sprockets and various fittings. There are the mechanisms pneumatically driven by foot pumps. So we have some pedals down the bottom, which you saw, well, they're folded back in. But also you saw in our updated piano, we have the pedals. Inside, we have all the standard looking keys underneath, but we have all this mechanism at the top here, so I don't know what's involved in taking all that apart. I don't know what sort of parts we're going to get out of it. It looks like it's a Thalberg player, standard pneumatic action, USA made. The actual soundboard looks nice, painted gold. It's not brass, it's not gold, it will be cast iron, just painted. And of course there's all the pins that hold the piano's wires, which we'll have to look at what we're going to do. The last piano I left all the soundboard complete, and I actually sold it through the shop, and I've had many comments over the years on that video to say, how did you go? Well, I did eventually sell everything, and we got about $170 odd back. This one's not in as nice a condition. All the keys here are chipped, they've been wet, and also when I was at the front of the shop it was abused a bit. We had drunks sit there Saturday night and probably spilled beer on it, and things got broken off, and yeah, it was knocked around quite a bit. It's had a rough life, but at least we gave it a second life. So now we'll see what we can salvage. So I'm not sure what the best plan of attack is. Just take the obvious things off first. I won't film all the dismantle. I might film a bit and speed it up. I have to go and round up some tools, and I don't know where I'm going to put all the stuff as I take it off, but we'll see how we go. Okay, I've got a little bench here set up with my surgical tools, the bucket for screws and bits and pieces. Where do we start? Well, I think I'll probably take the top lid off. There's some hinges along the back, and then this front panel should come out. In fact, it should come out easily. Oh yeah, there's little latches. Don't even need tools for that one. So there we go. We'll deal with all these bits of timber later. They're nice little brass latches. We could get some pretty good hardware off this. What's this? Little plastic thing. We can't find some treasures. Hopefully we might find some coins. I think you always find coins. A loose bit of wood that's broken off something. Probably that other bracket. And there's screws in there. Well, we're going to have to take this mechanism off. I think I'll get the lid off next. Okay, there's our top lid. And it's a little warped, but it's actually going to be a nice piece of solid timber under there. Some brass hinges, 3 hinges. I've only got 2 pins. Don't know why the pin was missing out of the middle one, but they're nice hinges all the same. Now I think we'll try and take these assemblies off complete. This one's screwed to the bottom there and just has the chain drive. It's pretty cool, a little crankshaft operating the valves. That's nice. They were quite a complicated air pump system, I believe, and I think they were very expensive to have fixed, as far as if the pianola wasn't playing the rolls properly. So I'm going to take the 4 screws out of the base of this. Okay, that will come out of there. Take the chain off. Okay, that's a separate little unit. That is cool. I reckon we could sell that on its own. Okay, very cool. So the bellows are actually in pretty good condition. And probably still pump air. Does it pump air? I think it needs air to go in. I'm not sure. Don't know how they work. Do not use oil on this motor. They call it a motor. But that's cool. I'm sure we can sell that on its own. Going to get lots of interesting bits off here. There's an air line that's been disconnected. I think the rubber's all gone hard. That was the latch for the front panel. I'll take all these screws out. I'll save all the screws. A little bit of chain. Now, this one is what turns the actual paper roll. Some nice gearing here. And I wonder if that will come off in one piece. Right, now the screws in here. That front panel might come off. We might take that panel off next. Okay, what's behind here? Oh, lots of air hoses. And they're all gone very hard. And looks like some are broken. Oh, actually they're metal. They might even be lead. They're very soft. They've got rubber joiners. Looks like there's some corrosion in them. I wonder if they're lead pipes. So we might take this board out. So there's screws each end and in these metal brackets. So the whole board will lift off. I think that's our next step. Oh, there's something tied to these pipes. Bit of ribbon. And we have something connected. Oh, all those pipes are connected. Okay. That presents a bit of an issue. They go into here. Maybe we'll have to take this off. Okay, that's loose. That connects to all the pipes. I think that should push through. Oh, we've got some linkages here. Let's disconnect this. Oh, one up here. Now we must be just about right. Oh, we still have some pipes connecting here. They're all breaking. Not sure what they're made out of yet. So that mechanism's free. We'll sort out what we're going to do with that soon. Let's look at these pipes. I think they're lead. I think they're all lead pipes. Very thin. And they've had rubber which has perished. But that is metal, very soft and quite heavy. Has to be lead. So I better wash my hands after doing this. That's a piece of rubber. May have had repairs over the years. Well, that's adding to the weight, isn't it? Alright, I think I'll clean all these lead pipes up and I'll be back with you shortly. Okay, this is taking a while, but they are lead pipes and you can see that they're corroded quite badly in places. And because they're so thin, they just break. So there's a good example. I haven't really touched that one and it's essentially just falling apart. So I expect that all these plastic joiners, given that they're not on this side, I think they're repairs that have been done over the years, and you can see why these things would have been very expensive to fix. All these lead pipes, you'd have to essentially be a plumber, and this brass fitting here has all the little sections they push onto. They're attached with some sort of glue, but it's very brittle, it just breaks away. So I'm pulling all the lead pipes off, just folding them up, putting them in a bucket here. They're not super heavy because they're so thin, but it'll weigh up to a bit. So I'm just going to keep working at this to clean it all up. Then we'll look at the next step, which probably would be to take the hammer assembly out. I don't know what that metal is. Hopefully we get a decent piece of brass out of here. This is certainly brass, but the back, even though the back looks so impressive, it'll just be cast iron. Okay guys, it's the next morning. It got too hot yesterday and it's going to be very hot today. I'm still working on these lead pipes. The forecast for today is 41 degrees Celsius here, which is I think about 106 or almost 106 Fahrenheit. Tomorrow is supposed to be hotter, and Friday I think hotter again with northerly winds. So cross your fingers we don't have any bushfires. It's not going to be a nice day. Working on this, it's taking a while and I've just about done. You can see that's a pretty heavy chunk of brass. Getting all these lead pipes off. Whatever glue this was is flaking off, but they're still holding on fairly tightly. Got half a bucket of lead now, and that's weighing quite well. I'm not sure if the lead pipes continue underneath, so once we get this cleared out, I think we can remove this panel, and then we should be able to get the whole hammer assembly out and delve further into the piano, hopefully getting the keyboard off somehow. I was just looking at this plaque up here. I think that's removable, which is great because I can sell that. So it's all going to be welcomed income because this is taking a fair while, and it'll be interesting to see how much value we can get from this old piano when basically most people would have taken it to the tip because they're just, it was too far gone, and even in good condition no one wants them. Screws have just been removed from this piece and it's loose. I thought it might be attached with more pipes. No, that's where the pipes end. They don't even come through the other side. I don't understand what the use of all those pipes is for. Anyway, another piece of timber. I'll take those cross pieces off and we'll deal with that later. Now, how do we get the hammer assembly out? Alright, we might have to take this piece off. I'm assuming this, maybe there's not screws. Maybe they were dowels. Oh, is that loose? That whole thing just lift out? It does. Oh, here we go. So that's the lid and the big piano hinge, which will be worth saving. Now all the timbers are stamped with numbers. I don't know if they all correspond, but every piece of timber has a number stamped in it. It says 5496. Could that be 1896? I think this piano would date to around 1900. Alright, there's the back of the keys. Alright, does this piece come off? It doesn't look like there's any screws in it. There we go. And I think the keys actually lift out. Oh, I might have to take this panel off next. Okay, there was a lot of screws in that panel, and look at all the beautiful old hardware we're getting. So we'll get some value back out of that. Now, does this come off? hopefully. There we go. Ooh, are they like air valves? Certainly this is much more complicated than a normal piano. It looks like leather. They seal on leather, and there's holes at the top. So maybe they were connected with the lead pipe somehow, I didn't see. That didn't get as far though, did it? Or does this whole thing come out? And do our piano keys come off now? No, I think we've got to get further back. Still kind of plays. Oh, here we go. Whoa. That was sinister. Something's still attached. Okay, there we go. What a complicated setup. Are they all bellows? They're all bellows. There's a lot of dirt in here. All individual bellows, are they? To make each key operate. So when the air pressure is applied through a certain hole, it operates a certain note. Amazing how people come up with this. That's incredible. Don't know what I'm going to do with that bit. Now we get a really good view of all the keys. They're really long. Okay, so we can remove the keys. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with those. Last piano I wrecked, the actual tops were in pretty good condition and I sold them. I don't know if they're ivory. They're pretty badly damaged, they're not reusable. But we can take all the keys out, the white ones and the black ones. Someone might do something with them, I'm not sure. Anyway, we'll pull all those off and hopefully find something interesting underneath. Okay, that's a lot of keys, and as I'm imagining I'm going to play that at fast speed, it'd be interesting to see what those random notes sound like. I'll leave them in. A lot of dust under here, and a lot of 100 years of just accumulated fluff. I can't see any coins. So ripped off in this piano. No treasure. Okay, well, next I guess is to take the keyboard bed out and just a few of these little extra bits. I'll leave all the soundboard as it is for now. So probably pretty boring just taking this out. I'll let you know if I find anything. Okay, no treasures to report. I've removed all the screws and things that I can see here. This section's loose, but there's screws at the back. There was a cover over here. We still have some controls I forgot about under here. And we need to get the back section off, and I have a feeling that it just sits on these, and we can undo the thumb screws here. Oh, that one was nearly off. So was that. That one was tighter. So I reckon that may lift off now. Or is it still attached to something? No, that end's off. Oh, there we go. Oh, it's got a couple of linkages. There, I think that's got them off. And oh, what's caught there? There we go. So there's our hammer assembly. And again, look at the work in that. Incredible. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. Well, that frees up a lot, and I can now get the end screws and we can remove at least this section. Okay, this section will come out, hopefully. Or did I miss a screw? There we go. Just a lot of pins on that one. And a lot of dirt. Alright, it's been packed up with card. And someone's business card. Dated 1933. Must have been a major service. Someone's cut up some sort of business card. Oh, that's just flat paper. I'll spread this out later and see if I can put it together. It might be a bit of a jigsaw. And here's what I could make out of that card. It looks like it was some sort of poster or flyer for a James Patrick and Co Limited, and he was based in Melbourne, and he was a shipping or cargo type business, shipped by Patrick's steamer, regular weekly sailing for Sydney, Newcastle I think, and Brisbane. And I've overlaid some bits because he's obviously cut up a few different flyers, and the date is June 1933, so quite interesting. And that piece kind of fits over there to give you Newcastle, but it's slightly different print, so he must have cut up a few different flyers. Yeah, really interesting. No value, and there would have been a picture of a steamship up there. No value, but quite fascinating. And this, I think, was probably from, I'm guessing, National Mutual Life Assurance. Who knows what, but he's obviously, the piano service guys just used this card for shimming the bed of the keyboard, so I guess it had to be perfectly level or didn't rock or something, and he grabbed whatever he had at hand. But yeah, cool. Doing a bit of a jigsaw here without the picture on the box cover and without all the pieces, but that's what we found. Okay, back to the dismantle. Disappointingly, there's no treasure. Okay, I'm getting close to finish this, which is good because it's getting very hot out here. I need to disconnect the bellows and the other little linkages and everything under there and the pedals, and then I'll take this entire keyboard bed off, and that will leave us with the back frame and the soundboard and all the strings. I think that's actually something I might try and move on complete. I don't really want to take all that apart and cut the strings. I don't think, well, they're under a lot of tension, but I don't think I have a lot of spring in them. I did mention in my last video years ago when I did this that they could be quite dangerous. I had a few people comment to say that, well, they don't recoil that much. You can actually cut them with an angle grinder. They make a lot of noise and they let go with a little bit of a bang, but they don't sort of spring around everywhere. But then what's the point in that? Because to try and get the cast iron piece off the back, I've got to take all those little keys out. They're a little square drive and they go into the wood, so they've got to come out before you can separate the wood from the cast unless you burn it. But the cast isn't worth enough to worry about that. So I reckon I'll take that plaque off the top. Hopefully it comes off. And the soundboard I might leave complete in the back frame once the keyboard area is off and everything's cleaned out underneath. And look, I managed to sell the other one, so we'll see how we go. Anyway, my next plan, because I don't want to sort of crawl under there on my knees in amongst all the leaves and debris, I'm going to try and tip it over. I think the weight should be such now that I can just roll it across the trailer and tip it back onto this side, so that then I can get access to underneath the keyboard and hopefully take that section off. So I thought this plan would be easy. I'll just move it across a bit, and surely that doesn't weigh anywhere near what it used to with all the stuff I've removed. And at this stage I realise, oh, this is going to be very dangerous. I don't think I'll do it this way. So I shoved the piano further across, and then I found an old mattress. You can actually see it behind there where you could, and I let the piano go. And just as well I wasn't behind that. Good plan. One of the nice things about taking apart an old piece of furniture is that the screws are beautiful to take out. They don't seem to go tight or seize into the wood. And look at that. That was the last one. There was 6 holding this in, and they didn't use glue, or if they did use glue, it's usually so dried out that the timber just comes apart beautifully. But I'm sure there's been no glue used in this. Just all put together with beautiful large wood screws. The manufacturers though did get a bit tricky, because I've had to remove the cast iron caster from the base of here to remove a long screw that goes up through this base piece and into the bottom of the bracket here. So that was well hidden. I will be putting these casters back in though, even though they're really nice casters, and I could probably get $20 a set of those, but I need them on this frame because the base section here is tapered out, and it's actually going to make it uneven to sit on the ground, so the casters will raise the piano up off that base section. And the bonus, I guess, is that I'll be able to roll it round. The last one of these I didn't because the casters, I think one was broken and one was missing, and I didn't have that piece on the bottom, or maybe I removed that so that it sat flat on the ground. Anyway, in this case I will leave the casters on it. Okay, I think we're just about ready to take out that keyboard bed. I think I've got all the screws out, and then all I need to do is pull out the last of the bellows thing. And I thought I might take the thing down to the car wash. I don't remember if I mentioned that yesterday. It's going to be hot here. I'll give it a good wash out with the pressure hose. It'll get rid of all the leaves and everything in here, and then it can dry, and we'll have a look at it. I think it'll be a saleable item then. And once that was removed and everything else taken off to the car wash, had a bit of a wash out, dried really quickly in the hot weather, back to the shop, unloaded, and that's where it's been parked for nearly a week now. You see I did take the bottom board out. I've priced it at $50. We'll leave it sit there for a week and see how we go. And in the meantime, the new piano can watch what might happen to it in a few years' time. Back at home now in the carport, and we have three items here. The pedal assembly with two big bellows, and that actually still pumps air. So if you mount it up off the ground, you can pedal it or pump it, and it blows air out at either end of that top box. So that actually still works. We have the big complicated hammer assembly and that other, oh geez, I'm not even sure what to call that. A lot of work in those. It's amazing the workmanship that's gone into this construction. Remembering it was all done probably in the late 1890s by hand, by skilled craftsmen. It's getting very windy here. And there's some nice metallic brackets on this end, but I didn't want to pull it apart anymore. I would certainly get a lot more hardware off these as far as screws and things go, but I'm just going to sell all these per item at just $10 each, just for curios. I don't know what people are going to do with them. Sometimes people like to be creative. I do sell a lot of old rusty metal to guys that weld up sculptures, and they're always looking for unusual things, so who knows what someone crafty will turn them into. That one may even be used to pump air again, but $10 each just as a novelty to get rid of them. Much better than them being thrown out. And now the other side of the carport leaves us with all this nice timber, and if I had a woodwork set up going and I was doing a lot more of that sort of stuff, I'd probably keep a lot of this. I don't have room for it at the moment, and I don't actually have any woodwork projects nor space to do it, but this is all beautiful old timber. Lots of little bits and pieces as well, lots of edging and stripping, all the keys, all the little blocks of wood, and every piece of this is real wood. There's no chipboard, there's no craft wood, there's no plywood. There is veneer on some of it. That was the base piece of the piano, and that's really nice pine. I think it's pine, it looks like pine. That one's got like a walnut veneer, I think, and that's part of the frame, and I don't know what timber that might be. Pine again. There's no knots in it at all that I can see. Quite a solid piece of timber. So I'm going to advertise all this on the local Facebook groups for $20 a lot, and anyone at all that's into timber work, maybe the men's shed might use it, I don't know, but I'd like it all to go in one hit, and I'd like it to go to someone who appreciates it and not burn in their shed wood fire or something like that. It's just way too nice. I'm not sure what sort of timber was used on these keys. It's very light, but it's not as soft as balsa wood, but it's certainly very light. So I don't know what types of timber they've used, but hopefully someone gets some use out of them. And up on the deck now with the little bits and pieces. So far we have 50 for the soundboard, 50 for what's in the carport. And what are we going to get out of all this stuff? Well, I'm just going to pull some figures out of the air. This can all go into the shop, and I don't mind if it sits there for a while. the little air motor, which is really cool. In fact, before we go any further, I shall show you some footage I took of this earlier. Okay, I'm just having a bit of a play with this, what they call a motor, and I've got it running off my drill just to show you how it operates. And if anyone's ever wondered what a crankshaft looks like, okay, I don't think my drill is flat. I think the zip ties just slipped on the trigger. So this operates bellows, and I think it's actually supposed to go the other way. I think I'm actually driving it from the motor, from a rotational force, and in this end it's creating a suction, and I'll start it again in a minute for you. But I think what it's supposed to do is the pressure from pumping the air, the bellows in the piano, actually pressurizes this and turns the air pressure into rotation. So it is a motor, it's an air-driven motor to drive the pianola roll that turns, and then the piano plays music. Let's get it started again. There we go. So I took the sprocket off one end and just attached the drill. That light's very bright, isn't it? And how cool is that? It's great. So it's actually creating quite a suction here. And when I block the airflow, it actually loads the motor up so much that it probably will stall the drill. So there we go, that's pretty cool. I'm going to sell that on its own just as a novelty. Perhaps you could hook up just a little 12-volt motor and have it running on your desk as just an ornament. Who knows, but I reckon that's way too cool to knock apart. Anyway, there we go. 100-year-old or more little air motor that you should not use oil on, apparently. So look, I'm going to put this in the shop for $50. I just think it's a really cool piece. It still works, as you've seen, at least to some degree. So we're going to try 50 on that. We have a little bit of hardware here, just some brass screws, but these are all the wood screws. There's it was about 1 kilo of them. So I'm going to ask $10 for those, put them all in a jar. Genuine 100-plus-year-old wood screws. The cast iron plaque here, it is cast iron, is really nice. It's quite heavy. People collect plaques and badges and that sort of stuff. I kept the original screws with them because they've got the gold painted heads. I'm going to ask about $40 for that. The piano hinge itself, I weighed that. It's actually 1/2 kilo of solid brass. Even the hinge pin is brass. So it's quite heavy. It still works beautifully. I'm going to ask $20 for that, because even as scrap brass it's worth about $5. These lots of hinges, there's some little nameplates and plaques. I'll put $5 on that group. Maybe $5 on those hinges. One of them is missing the pin. The actual lid lock, I think I'll be able to find a key for that, so we'll probably ask $5 for that. Maybe $5 for these brass levers. Try $5 on those too as well, the catches. I might hang on to these little ones. I do use little hinges here. The actual pedals themselves, they're not solid brass on the end. They're fairly thick, but they're just a brass piece over cast iron. I think $10 for a pair of those. And this is the actual gearbox drive for the pianola roll itself. It has like a clutch setup. This lever can put it in and out of gear, and it may even have a reverse. No, I don't know if it has a reverse, but it's all there. It still drives, and it actually has a brake pad each end for some sort of control, I guess. I can't get that to go into gear now. So we might go $10 on that with the reel. Over this side we just have a few bits of heavy melt steel. I don't think there's any value in that stuff. Nearly 1/2 kilo of brass, so there's about $4 or $5 there. A whole heap of little bits and pieces, including some really good spring steel. So I'll probably group that with some other stuff. I won't allow anything for that. The heavy rods and everything, I think I'll keep the heavier ones because it's going to be really nice steel for maybe lathe work down the track. Might not keep them all. What I don't want can go in the heavy melt steel. It's thick enough. The thinner ones are more like bicycle spokes. They can probably just go in the shred. And we had about 5 kilos of lead, plus these 2 brackets. So I'll do a list. It might be surprising what it actually adds up to. And here's everybody's favourite section of my videos, my notepad. $290 for a clapped out piano that most people would take to the tip. Well, maybe. Look, I know I'm a bit ambitious on some prices, and I do appreciate that without a shop, I would be hard-pressed to do most of this. But then again, that's my situation, and I like to save stuff, and I have a second-hand shop, so why not use it? I'm also keeping a few bits and pieces for myself, as I've mentioned. The actual soundboard that you saw at the front of the shop at $50, look, I thought I'd leave it for a week and then drop it to 40, leave it for another week, drop it to 30, won't go below 20 because I'd get 20 for the casters. They're actually really nice cast iron casters underneath. I could certainly put a bit more labour in and get a decent amount for the cast iron, and there's some really good timber in it as well, but that's more time involved. I have been told, and I did notice, that some of the actual piano wires were wrapped in copper, but it's probably fairly labour intensive to get them off. We'll see how we go there. I'll keep you informed. I think we'll sell most of the other stuff. I'll advertise the timber shortly, and hopefully someone... I mean, I could probably get a lot more for it than that. I mean, it's beautiful old timber, but you've got to find the person that wants to use it. Some of the other things I've priced just because I think they're cool. Not everyone will, of course. So there we go. Potentially nearly $300. I mean, when you include the few bits I kept. But then again, I did spend a long time doing it. It took me quite a few hours. Admittedly, I was filming it all. It would be a lot quicker to do it without filming. So maybe it's nearly worthwhile picking up Pianola pianos from the side of the road. Of course, you'd have to be a lot stronger than me to lift them up and put them on the car or the ute, or, well, not on the car. That would be silly. But anyway, how's that for an experiment? Pretty good return, potentially. I will keep you informed. I'll pin a comment underneath. I know I normally have my comment pinned about buy me a coffee, but if I've got anything to report, I'll pin a comment. So if you're seeing this video down the track, you can just duck down in the comments and see how I've gone. Nothing to the tip. Nothing to landfill. Worst case, you could probably burn some of the timber in your fire, at least to get some use out of it. There could be, there's a little bit of scrap metal, but a lot of reusable stuff, and that's what I like. So there we go. We've given this piano a third life after it was going to be thrown out before it was donated to the front of the shop. So it had a good 7 years or so in the front of the shop being played. Now it's got another life in parts. But yeah, at least it hasn't gone to tip, hasn't gone to the landfill, and people should appreciate the bits and pieces, and may they live on. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.